yeah, the timeline from buying the accounts to getting paid out was about 80 days.
Was that going into that process? Was that your goal? Was your goal to sort of try and run it up and just maximize, or was it just something that just happened through the market?
Yeah, no. My plan was to be consistent daily.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first 20 trading days, it was like $1,000 a day per account. Sometimes it was more. There were occasions where I left sell stops in or buy stops in, and the market just absolutely tore through them and went on a run, because the consistency rule of you had to be at your highest day couldn't be 30% or more of your balance for the 10-day period that you're trading. So the consistency rule applies every 10 days. So it forced me to be consistent and think about my big winners, my big losses, if I was going to take any, and it just forced me to just get the piece of the pie, walk away, log out of it, go on a different account, move, go about your day. But my plan was always to run it up. I'd kind of built out the plan of $1,000 a day, 20 accounts. What would that look like, including a 60k payout every 10 days at the 4th month, withdrawing the lot? What's that total number? But I did way more than the total number that I'd planned, because that number.
So at one point you were at 3 million, right?
Yeah, at one point I was about 3 million, and then increased my risk to about 25k a trade, so per account, which is ridiculous, right? Because I'd already spoken to a couple of people in the space that had been paid out a large sum of money from Apex, and they'd warned me that the freeze email just arrives, and that's it. Once that hits, you're done. You get paid the lot, or you move to live. There's different options for everybody. I didn't get the option to move to live. I got the option to just be paid out. And in my head, I always just said to myself, $2 million inside the accounts, no matter what, I will not go below that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to go below that. And then I took 2 trades 2 days before they were frozen. And I took basically a 50k loss per account, which basically wiped out the $1 million day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the account went from 2 million to 3 million. And then
the email came.
And then I, literally the day after the email came. Yeah.
Oh, wow. When you had that loss though, how did you feel? Did you feel anything was coming, like something like tilt could have come on, or was that email like a godsend in a sense? Does that make sense?
Probably in hindsight, the email is probably a good thing, because I probably would not have curved the risk, is the truth.
They're sitting there watching this saying, we shouldn't have sent that.
Yeah. I've had the thought process that if they probably left it a bit longer, then they probably could have paid me less. That's the truth. I think that is a reality.
Wait, man, I think no one out there can say anything, because to do the profit in the first place is one thing, but then take a loss like that as well.
Yeah.
Right? That's probably harder, would you say?
I quite literally, if I hadn't just traded those 2 days, I would be $1 million richer.
Yeah. Does that thought ever come, or you have to let that go?
Who cares? If I gave you $1.8 million today, what are you going to spend it on?
I have no idea.
There you go. So that's the truth. It's the $1 million would have been better. There's no denying that. Mm-hmm. But when I spend the 1.8 million, I'll think about the additional $1 million I lost.
Yeah.
Until then, I don't want to think about it. And normally, I just don't really care. I knew what I was signing up to. I knew the risk. I knew the parameters. And if that number would have been 5 million, it probably would have been more rewarding from a round number perspective. But it was 2 million. I had a hard stop at 2 million, and I would just go back to my normal risk and trade that. And then when that email come. But the way I looked at it is, the $1 million trade, the $1 million trade was the 25k risk. So if I hadn't got the $1 million trade, or hadn't upped my risk, I wouldn't have got the $1 million trade. And if I hadn't got the $1 million trade, I wouldn't have upped my risk consistently. So it just balanced it out, and I basically just remained neutral. Right?
Yeah.
So I upped my risk, had a really big day, kept my risk the same, had 2 losers back to back from 2 days, just balanced it out, and they reset me. Because I think in their head they were just like, well, if this guy consistently risks this and does this for 20 days, we are screwed. Yeah, because that would have been a lot of money.